Hello and welcome to the Magnetic Muse, the YouTube edition. I'm Jessica Ann, your host, and today we are kicking off the series talking about what I believe has had the biggest impact on my transformation in 7 years of awakening, 7 years of stripping back layers of conditioning and moving more and more into the wholeness of the authentic self and that creative self-expression. When I began my journey, the first thing I was guided to do was learn to go within and to develop the neutral observer. So when I first began teaching how to become empowered, teaching people how to reconnect with themselves. It was At first, it was about reconnecting with intuition. It was about helping people to learn to actually develop a healthy ego and to understand that our ego is not something to kill, it's something to work with consciously and to make the mind a servant to the soul. Because at the core of every single thing I've ever done, whether I've been teaching human design, whether I've been facilitating transformation through Gene Keys human design, it's always come back to consciousness. And it's always come back to how can I be guided from my own inner authority and my own inner knowing. And as you know, this is not easy for a lot of people because it's not as easy as just working with the subconscious mind or beginning to slow down the mind and work consciously with the different aspects and the different voices. We have the inner child, we have a nervous system that is holding on to survival patterns and stories, memories, we've got stored emotions. And so after 7 years of building a toolkit and a journey for myself to expand and evolve my own consciousness, to deeply self-examine, and to keep evolving and keep that awareness, um, and being curious about reactions and how my external world was holding me back or was mirroring ultimately the truth of what was really going on. When I developed mindset alchemy, I developed something called mastery. It was an acronym called Mastery, and it was a series of steps. And what I'm telling you all of this because this is really your introduction to the Divine Femme Collective and the body of work that is coming through me over the next few years. Obviously, this year and beyond. And I'm giving you a history of how this body of work came to be developed through 7 years and probably previous lifetimes of information, but let's just focus on the material realm. Um, I created this acronym called Mastery when I first began, and it was meditate. One of the key and most important ways of really coming to the truth of things is being able to have that capacity to slow down. And that meditate can be walking, it can be in yoga, it can be in journaling. I used to teach automatic writing. I one of my clients will know one of my mottos is all roads lead to Rome. So, and again, something that really underpins my teachings and the way that I work is I give people the elements, I give people the tools, and then you have to self-organize and learn how take what works for you. Because that's always been the power for me, being able to hear these and learn and take these ideas and weave them in to find what my intuition, what my soul is guiding me to, because ultimately your soul knows the way. So meditate, find a place, find a way to get into stillness, find a way to reconnect with self. Ask questions. So again, I have developed a set of frameworks and a set of tools to help people to develop a metacognitive toolbox to help them to interpret meaning, interpret the language of their soul, interpret and read how life is teaching them something about what needs to be resolved, evolved, healed, how we can shine the light of consciousness on something that is very unique and specific to you. So it's about learning these universal tools and then being able to apply them in a very non-generic way. Because everything that I do and what I encourage all of my and the people that are in actually attracted to my work and to the work that I do are people that want to be sovereign. They're on the path of self-actualization, self-realization. These are people that are curious, you're learners, but you're not looking for someone to give you the way. You're looking for someone to see, to mirror, but also to illuminate, but also to give you the tools so that you've got your own in pathway to your own unique way of being and doing and having and seeing. Um, so asking questions is a really interesting one because I find a lot of people don't know how to self-examine, how to journal. A lot of my clients really were like, how do I journal? How do I? And so that's something we go deep into in all of the programs across this year. So we begin the year with New Woman ID Shift, which is really about working with the four survival archetypes, the shadow, sort of for moving from shadow to sovereign is what I call it, because it's a journey of transformation, of consciously working with these beautiful archetypes that we all have and that really hold the key when we are stuck or when we are being performative in our inner work and nothing is changing. So, um, this asking questions, if that's something that you find a challenge or not being able to really connect with yourself to hear your higher self, hear your intuition, be guided from within, this is one of the pathways on the course and on the in the experience that I'm creating. So we have meditate. Stillness as well is one of the most powerful things you can do to regulate your nervous system. If you want to co-create your reality, you need to learn how to get still. Not only to listen to what is the truth of what's going on, but to actually receive. So meditate, ask questions, set intentions. So um, we are always in a tension of opposites on the earthly plane, you know? We're in a tension of opposites. We're in a tension of being and doing. We're in a tension of creating and receiving, being guided and being surrendered. So setting intentions, and anyone who's been following me for a long time will know that I love to set infinite intentions. I don't particularly like goals in the traditional goal setting way, but I have learned to find my own way of goal setting that works for me, which is what I want to help you to do as well. So when we're moving into that divine union, when we're looking at how can we really balance that masculine and feminine so that we can take our work into the world, so that we can follow through, so that we can operate in our cyclical ways without the guilt, without forcing, we can really move into flow over force. But at the core, of any transformation and any behavior change, what's really important is that we begin to set intentions consciously, that we are willing to create the change that our soul is calling us to. Because we can want, but if we're not willing, nothing changes. And this is again something we delve a lot more deeply into when we work with our shadow in a very powerful way, in a way that I've developed over 7 years. So we've got meditate, we've got ask questions, we've got set intentions, tell the truth. Telling the truth, being honest with yourself about your current reality, being honest with yourself about the true feelings and emotions that are going on until you can stop lying to yourself. And this is a beautiful thing again, because ultimately, a lot of the time when we are lying to ourselves, what's at play? The prostitute, the one who's compromising to keep safe, or the child who doesn't really want to take responsibility, or the saboteur, or the logician, the one who will create very logical reasons why we should wait, do it tomorrow, find another time, etc. Until you can start to actually dismantle the lies that you're telling to yourself and allow yourself to stop self-abandoning, you being the first one to stop abandoning yourself, um, until you can get to that point, you're going to be stuck in a loop and you're not going to see that change that you want to see or create what you want to create. So we are going to be working with these big, big ideas. And then you've got mastery, emotional guidance, use this intelligence. So emotions are not something to fear, but it's amazing how many of us don't really have the the tools and the protocols to actually sit and lean in and be with discomfort, or how many of us want to uh, create false positivity. I love joy and I love having emotional mastery and I love choosing and deciding to master how I'm feeling to, around my external circumstances, joy and all of these things. But I also understand the value of our humanness. And the truth is, emotions are a normal part of life. And until we are able to work consciously with emotions, this can hold us back in major ways. So, um, mastery, meditate, ask questions, set intentions, tell the truth, emotional guidance, use this intelligence. Um, for some reason, R has just escaped me. I wanted to say repeat, respond, not react. Respond, not react. So this is a very powerful, I mean, I'm sure you've heard about responding, not reacting before anyway, but it's about the practice. It's about how do we truly move from this place of response. And finally, it's what am I saying yes to? Yes, the why is what am I saying yes to? And what is my holy no? And this comes back to that thing about honesty as well. Like so many times people will do things or go, they'll say, I want to stop doing this. I want to stop drinking. I want to stop smoking. I want to stop eating fatty stuff. But the reality is there's no willingness to do that. And then there's loads of guilt. And so they're not owning the desire and they're not really owning the consciousness that's driving the pattern or driving the behavior. And what happens when we get into working with our four survival archetypes, we get to actually really see what is driving, who, what ideas, what fear-based patternings are driving the decisions or the illusion of the decisions that we're making. So I think the biggest takeaway about working in New Woman is not only am I showing you the way to really be guided by your soul and to release external noise so that you can start moving in your own timeline, having that sovereignty to know that the decisions that you're making are conscious, they're true to you, they're aligned for you, and to really have that awareness of where you are compromising yourself, where you are lacking integrity. Because when you're doing this, you're leaking energy, you know. So this is really the introduction to what and why um I'm launching New Woman ID Shift, Shadow to Sovereign. And not only will we look at those four survival archetypes, which are really powerful and will change your life, we're looking at what the illuminated aspects are, because once we start moving from those empowered places, and what we're talking about here is moving from, it's the evolution of, living from a place of fear to moving with embodied power, moving with integrity, moving with conscious choice. Um, so if you are feeling called to this work, I'd like you to reach out, send me a DM, comment below. We will be starting in February, February the 17th. Um, and yeah, let's connect and have a conversation. I was going to talk about something else, but I think this is enough for today's session.